welcome to our channel. My name is Emily and we have been living in our fifth wheel for 2 years now. So we just celebrated our second RV Christmas. And I just wanted to share a little bit about how we manage toys in our fifth wheel and hopefully inspires you to tackle the toy situation, whether you're living tiny or you're living in a house. My goal is always to help my kids have the most imaginative play possible and long phases of independent play, because let's be real, I need as much of a break from my kids as I can, and I want to teach them to be independent. A friend of mine is a child development specialist, and back in March she posted a blog post about how to help manage toys in your home, and it was incredibly helpful for me. It gave me some perspective on what I had seen as we'd lived in our fifth wheel for so long, and helped me fine-tune and make our toy situation that much more functional for our family and enjoyable for our kids. So I have a few notes here and I'm just kind of going to go through and help you guys get some ideas. So one of the main points in the article, which I will put it below, but she talks about the reduction of toys. And so for all kids, regardless of what their situation is, the reduction of toys is very helpful, and also limiting access to those toys. So I know in a small space it can be difficult to have a lot of toys, so I would imagine that you've probably already reduced your toys substantially if you're living in a tiny living situation. But otherwise, definitely go through and reduce your toys as much as possible, and hopefully these categories will help you do that as well. Limiting the access to the toys is a huge part of that. So in the tiny living space, we need to think about where we want our kids to play with what toys and provide access to the specific toy in that area. It might be difficult at first to allocate so much storage space to toys, but if you are reducing toys and being intentional with that, it will be worth it. You want your kids to play and enjoy their lives, and so you can minimize toys and increase play. In our girls' room, we have several different options to inspire imaginative play and lots of creativity. One of those things is their play dresses. We absolutely love them, and they will come in here and put them on and run out and play and dance in the living room. Or sometimes, my favorite times, they shut the door and they lock themselves in here for a good while. So we also have a bin of accessories. Maybe it's masks, crowns, wands, things like that, and they love to pretend. We also have some dollhouses that we got them for Christmas. They're the Melissa and Doug Fold and Go dollhouses. I'm not quite sure what space they're going to live in. They might live in the living room for quiet time for my oldest, but they might end up living in this space. We've had a lot of days of outside time recently, and so I'm not quite sure where they're going to be best utilized. But don't be afraid to change where a toy lives, because it might be used in a completely different way based off of where in your home they find that toy. We also have an array of miscellaneous toys in this room. These toys are the ones that typically are the first to get rotated in or out of our rotational bin. Things that get rotated out often require maybe a little bit too much assistance to play with. Maybe they're causing some chaos and conflict in our home, or maybe they're just using them to make messes, at which point I quickly grab them up and throw them in the bin that lives on top of our shelf. Another great category is books. We always want to have books available to our kids, and while it's easy to put them all away or have them all out, I encourage somewhat of a rotation. We have most of our board books available to our kids at all times. We have a small bin right here, and then we have a larger bin that carries the bigger books. But we also keep books up above in the cupboards that maybe would get torn or ripped if they were out all the time. My husband and I typically will reach to those for bedtime stories. My other suggestion with rotating toys and things such as books, it is important to have them so they're not accessible. So not just in a cupboard necessarily, but maybe one that is up and away from your kids so they're not pulling everything back out. Once they learn where their rotation is, where you keep those items, if they can access it, they will. So if you can keep those things up and out of reach from them, that's ideal. We likely could be a lot more minimal with our toy choices, and someday maybe we will, but we feel like we've minimized a lot since moving into the fifth wheel, and it's a constant process of learning and growing. This room used to have 3 more pieces of furniture in it at one point, and so it's okay if it takes time for you to learn what works and to get rid of things slowly but surely. We have hands down made the most changes to this room. We've had a toy kitchen in here at one point, a PVC play fort, all sorts of different options for our kids, and it's just trial and error and figuring out what works for them and what doesn't. When the PVC playhouse rotated out is when we turned this lower bunk area into the playroom and shifted my youngest daughter's bed out of this space. Something about this space, they can pull these curtains in front of them and in front of the area and hide down here. They love it. It has been so much fun for them, and I love hearing all of the giggles that come out of this room. In our living room, we keep most of our building toys. So under the couch, we have several different options for blocks. And we also added a marble run this Christmas. We knew our kids loved them. They'd played with one at their grandma's. And we really spent the last probably 6 months researching and finding a marble run that was actually good quality and that our kids would enjoy. So it's always difficult when you see something that you know your kids would love and you want to go out and buy the first thing you find. But sometimes it's worth searching for just the right thing that you know your kids will play with. Another thing that we have in our living room is our art supplies. So our girls have a small table that they use for eating and also drawing and crafts. I've decided to limit their art medium to one specific thing right now, and that's colored pencils. My youngest likes to color on walls, and I don't particularly like cleaning it all up. So colored pencils don't tend to go on the walls, and they use them specifically for artwork, which has been great. And in this little IKEA table that I did a little IKEA hack to, they have some coloring books and things like that that they can use. And they color very often, obviously. So they're very creative little girls. Another category is sensory play, and I like to just have those out of reach and accessible to them when they ask for them. So we do have Play-Doh, and this Christmas we asked for a refresher on our Play-Doh collection. A lot of it was dried out and gross, as is what happens to Play-Doh, and that's okay. But we got a whole new stock of Play-Doh for Christmas, and they're very excited about that. My children, I have one child that naps and one that doesn't, and so my oldest has quiet time while her baby sister sleeps. And hidden under the couch, Adele has access to one of her favorite activities, which is kinetic sand. I highly recommend it. I keep it in a little craft bin, and it's really helpful. She knows how to access it, and she knows that it has to go away when her sister wakes up.
Hold out.
A few other toys that we added this Christmas. We added toy cameras and toy microphones. I know I'm crazy with the toy microphones. My kids have been asking for them for a long time, and they just encourage imaginative play, and they typically use both the cameras and the microphones together, which is something that's really important to me. I want them to go off and play not only independently but together, and so that's been really fun to watch. They've been singing "Oh Christmas Tree" on repeat, so that's been great. As for active toys, it is good to have a couple different options. This year for Christmas we added scooters because we knew it was an activity that was physical but they could also do together. So that is a huge thing for us, and especially any siblings. It's hard to have an activity that only one of them can do, and we had more success with my older on the bike and my youngest didn't do so well. So scooters were a great option, and now my oldest can ride the scooter completely independently, and the bike is more of a special occasion. Ultimately, it's all about helping our kids develop the best that they can, and everything is going to be different for your family as well. These are just some suggestions and things you can think about as birthdays come up, as Christmas comes up, and or maybe you're making the switch from a home to an RV, or maybe you're just looking to find some sanity with your kids' toys. It can get really overwhelming, and it's hard to explain to people what you're looking for and what you're attempting to do. So if you have family that doesn't really understand the minimal approach, I encourage you to send them this article that might help them understand how giving your kids too many toys might be causing A, more stress for you as a parent, but B, it might be hard on your kids too. So it's a great resource. I encourage you to use it. My friend Laura, she has an incredible blog. She doesn't post too often, but everything that's there is so helpful, and I appreciate it so much because I'm just trying to do my best like every other one out there. Kids are hard, and kids in a small space is a new challenge, but it's definitely one worth tackling. Let me know if you found this video helpful. I would love to provide as much insight into living in a small space with kids as I can. I know it's a big question mark for a lot of people before they go full-time in an RV, and I will say living this way has not taken away from my child's quality of life in any way. If anything, it's increased it. My oldest is speaking more and playing better with other kids. So it's been a huge blessing in our lives, and we're happy to share every detail of it with you. Just let us know in the comments below what you want to see next. If you want to see more about our renovation, more about how we store different things for the kids, or if you'd like to just see a family vlog, we'd love to do that too. So thanks so much.
Thank you, Mama, Dad.